Recently on the Wayspotters podcast, you heard Mr. Chris say...
Anything that gets you kind of maybe off the beaten path. Makes you go somewhere that you normally wouldn't. And that's the whole point of the whole database, is to get you to go look at places. Go explore and interact with your community that you in a way that you might not know before, right? Hello, agents, trainers, keepers, pilots, hunters, eighth wallers, and our beloved explorers and wayfinders. Welcome to episode 158 of the Wayspotters podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping you become a better wayfinder. Wayspotters is brought to you by the good people at the Pokémon Professor Network. Today is Friday, January 24th, and with me, as always, is Jamal. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing well, but I'm conflicted today. I'm super conflicted.
Super conflicted. Why is that?
So, I live in Charlotte, and I'm from Portland, and the Blazers are like my first and only love when it comes to sports, and they're playing in Charlotte tonight. I'm not going to the game, but I'm wearing a Charlotte Hornets hoodie. So, I don't know. I'm not turning my back on the Blazers, but I live in Charlotte. I've lived here for like 17 years, and every year I get further and further away from being connected to the Blazers and more connected to the Hornets. So,
right.
As far as Wayfarer goes, I'm fantastic.
That's good. I pick my sports teams not based on location, so I'm just a fan of my teams wherever I go. So it doesn't matter.
Nice.
I was never a Leafs fan. I'm a Blue Jays fan, but they're the only team in Canada, so it is what it is.
Right.
Let's go ahead and move to the news.
And now, the latest Niantic news from the Wayspotters podcast, presented by the Pokémon Professor Network.
All right, couple things. The Wayfarer Ambassador Program applications are still open until 11:59 PST tonight, Sunday, January 26th. It feels weird saying that considering today is actually Friday, but you're going to be listening to this on Sunday. So if you are listening to this and you still want to apply, please do it today because they close tonight at 11:59 PST. Jamal and Sea Princess, and who was the third one? Remind me.
Ellie Just Trying.
That's right. Did a special broadcast in the middle of last week, towards the beginning of last week. So go check that out on wherever you get your audio podcasts. It's fantastic. Thank you for subbing in for me while I was busy.
No worries.
Couldn't join. Really disappointed that I couldn't join you guys. So, but you guys handled it well. It was really good. So go check it out. Niantic has dropped the level requirement for nominating and editing wayspots in Ingress to level 8. They indicated that a drop in the Pogo level is coming soon. And that's that Niantic soon with the trademark on there.
Exactly.
They say a lot of things is coming soon, and a lot of things don't be coming soon. So we will see.
Apparently, there was a lot of chatter. There was a lot of chatter
yes.
on the forums about this, more than I thought there would be.
Yes.
I don't want to derail your news, but I mean, people had some opinions on this.
Yes, they did, and we are going to talk about those opinions in a little bit. If you've recursed apparently and not made it back to level 7, apparently you cannot submit wayspots or do edits in Ingress, which
interesting.
You are apparently supposed to be able to do, because we've talked about this before. If you get to level whatever and recurse, you can do all that stuff at level 1, right? Which makes sense.
I had no issues
you've
with
already hit the level, right? So, what level are you now?
I am. So I got to level 16 and I recursed, which was a whole ordeal. I was debating on whether I want to do it, but I've worked myself back to level 13 now. So
nice.
So the second time around, I'm level 13. And, I don't know if I'm going to recurse again. Maybe we'll see. But what I wanted was those wings next to my name that shows you recursed. And then I can get that very last level on all the badges because you have to be recursed to get it. So level 13 after recursing.
I am still level 10. So
Okay.
you've gone all the way past me, recursed, and then past me again. So
And I'm going to make a bold prediction. You'll probably stay level 10.
more than
Right?
likely, yes.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Because you're at the stage now where you got to get some badges, and it comes into store.
I am 1 gold badge away from level 11. I have the AP
Mhm.
for it, but I just there's 2 streaks that you can get that I could probably just bang it out in 45 days or whatever it is, but I
Right.
get to like 6 days and then forget. So
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know that
That's
I'll
the
ever
hump
get
for
there.
that's the hump for a lot of people. A
Yeah.
lot of people. So
Yeah. When they introduced that kind of mechanic into Pogo, it's tripped up a lot of people too.
yes, for sure.
And there's one more thing that you sent me that I forgot to add. So I'm going to look it up real quick and talk while I'm going through it. There are some Pokestops that are being put in. Sorry, there are Pokestops being put in conjunction with the release of the Pokemon TCG Scarlet and Violet Prismatic Evolutions.
Mhm.
Select retail locations will have new Pokestops and Pokemon attracted to lure modules. So if you see some new sponsored stops pop up, that's why.
And those
The
are going to
whole
be
thing.
temporary from what I understand,
Yep.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Temporary just for the event. It doesn't say. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't say
February
for how long.
1st to February 27th
27th
is what I thought I saw.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Visit,
Yeah.
yeah, visit one
Yep.
of these retailers near you from February 1st to February 27th to enjoy everything the promotion has to offer, with more details below. Best Buy, GameStop, and Target in the United States, GameStop and Toys R Us in Canada, and EB Games in Australia.
Nice. So
So
if you see new sponsored stops, that's why.
yes. And I feel like sponsored stops should come with kind of a disclaimer, because people inevitably, what we're going to see in Wayfarer is people who are going to nominate a Best Buy a month from now that was like, hey, my Best Buy, their Pokestop, disappeared. Can I get it back? Or,
Yeah.
the Target Pokestop is here, but the Target balls are here. So inevitably that's going to happen, kind of like the McDonald's. And then some of the cranky old Wayfarers get kind of upset about that. But we've always said, it's each game does their own inclusion rules, and if they want to
Yep.
have sponsor stops, they're going to have sponsored stops. So
Yep. Exactly. Right. And there's not much we can do about it other than remind
Nope.
people just because you see a sponsored stop doesn't mean that you can nominate another one of those things.
right, exactly,
Starbucks.
exactly, yep.
All right, let's jump into topic number 1.
This is not Little Pound Cake. Don't forget about topic number 1.
All right, topic number 1. On its so level drops, are they actually a good thing? So they've dropped the requirement for Wayfarer in Ingress from 10 to 8, which is very significant. It's a massive, like it might not seem like a lot, like 2 levels, that's not a lot, but the max level is 16, right?
Yes, it's 16.
So think of that as like level 50 in Pogo. And
Right.
so 8 is halfway there, but I'm going to let you explain why it's significant because you've played Ingress a heck of a lot longer than I have. So
Yeah. So let me go through this here. I want to pull something up on the screen. For people watching on YouTube, I'm going to pull something up on the screen, and I'm going to do my best to follow along with the people on audio. So what you see on the screen right now, and this is from ingress.fandom.com. So if you want to go to ingress.fandom.com, I don't know who owns that site, but there's your free plug. And what it's showing is the access level requirements in Ingress and how you get from one level to the other. So Chris, I'll walk you through this and I'll try to make this like less painless for those people who are like clawing at their ears because they don't play Ingress. But essentially everyone starts off at level 1, just like in Pokemon Go. In order to get to level 2, you have to get 2,500 AP. Think of AP equivalent in Pokemon as XP. So it's points for doing actions within the game, whether that's deploying a resonator, destroying a resonator, deploying a lure. I'm not a lure module, but goodness gracious, a mod, deploying a mod, destroying a link, destroying a field. So all of those things you can do to go to get your AP. So what Chris is alluding to and why it's so big, and I'll kind of jump ahead. So to get to level 8 in Ingress, all you need to do is get 1,200,000 AP. It sounds like a lot, and it is, but if you play on Tuesdays when the AP is double, if there's things that you can do in there to make your AP grow faster. It's called an AP boost. If you use an Apex AP boost, you will have double AP for 30 minutes. So it's kind of like a lucky egg. Why this is so monumental, Chris, is you don't need any badges. Before, to get to level 10 in Ingress, you needed 4 million AP, you needed 2 gold badges, and you needed 5 silver badges. Now, when you think about that, the badges in Ingress are significantly harder to get than the badges are in Pokemon Go. And there's different badges, so they have different levels of the badges. So just for example, let's take the Wayfarer badge in Ingress, and let me find it here. It's called the Recon badge. Make beneficial contributions to Operation Portal Recon and the expansion of the Portal Network. So it's still got the old language in there. So it's 100, 750, 2,500, 5,000, and 10,000. So those are agreements. Those aren't nominations. Those aren't reviews. Those are agreements. So in order to get the first badge, you need 100, but in order to get the silver badge, which is one of the ones you need for level 10, you have to have 750 agreements to get there. So that's not a small number. I don't want to brag, but I've got 36,867 on my badge. But that's me. I've been doing it a while. But there's some other badges like the Mind Controller badge, creating fields. To get the silver badge, you need to have created 500 fields in Ingress. And 500 fields is a lot. Like, you've got to legitimately get out and play in order to create 500 fields. So another one is the translator badge, which is master glyph hacking. So when you go into Ingress and you go to hack and you take it up to the left, you've got to draw the little things with your finger. The translator badge to get silver is 2,000. So you have to do it 2,000 times unless you're doing like a level 8 and you get more points for it, but it's a lot. So the badges in Ingress, Chris, are not really easy to get there. You have to work for those badges. And I'll just give an example of one more badge, the engineer badge. In order to get the silver engineer badge, that's deploying mods to upgrade portals is 1,500. The most mods you can deploy on any one portal yourself is 2. So you can deploy 2 at one time, and then you have to go to another one. So you would have to visit 750 individual portals and deploy 2 mods on each one to get that badge. And I think we've highlighted 4. Let's highlight one more just to give the people an idea. Purifier badge, destroy enemy resonators. In order to get the silver badge, you have to destroy 10,000 enemy resonators. So for those of you who don't play Ingress, if you see a portal that's all the way full, that is it's 8. So you can deploy 8 on a full portal. So let's just say you encounter you would need to visit 1,250 portals that are fully full and destroy all of them in order to get that badge. So this is not something that can be done in a week or a weekend. It's going to take you a little bit of time. Now, if someone wants to go out and just crush through it, they can do it. But remember, you have to have 5 silver and then 2 gold. And when you talk about the gold and you talk about the levels that we talked about, those are going to be even harder. So I'll pull this down now. But I just want to share that as to it's not a small task to get to level 10 in Ingress, which is why the bar was set there to begin with. And I think it was set there in the beginning appropriately to make sure people had a good understanding of what they were doing before they got access to Wayfarer.
Yeah, I can totally agree. Back then there wasn't as many resources and there wasn't as much information out there available to especially the OPR guys. So they kind of had to put that gate there. But I think now it's fine, right?
Yeah.
But there are some Wayfarers out there who have advocated for there to be no level requirement at all.
Right, there are.
Which I get. I totally get.
Is true.
But I wanted to kind of take some time and kind of suss out a pro-con list to kind of see where we come out on this. So
okay, let's do it.
All right, so let's talk about the pros.
Okay.
I got a couple. I see if you have any.
Yep.
The biggest thing that this does is, and people always say it's unfair to rural trainers, the levels, because it's harder for rural trainers and rural agents to kind of get, and harder for rural agents, I would think, that harder than rural trainers, because there's ways around that for the levels in Pogo, whereas Ingress, you're really reliant on there being portals in your area, because if there's no portals in your area, there's not a whole lot you can do in Ingress other than send your drone out once a day to hack a portal. And that's pretty much it, right? So lowering it to the point where you don't need badges anymore really probably opens up a lot of opportunity for rural agents to access Wayfarer, right? It allows more agents to participate in Wayfarer. And at this point in Wayfarer's kind of evolution, that's a good thing. More people participating in Wayfarer is absolutely a good thing. I don't know if you have any more pros.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. When we get down to Jamal's thoughts, I do have thoughts, and I'll kind of tease it out for you right now. I think the opposite is true for Ingress than it is for Pogo, where I think the landscape is flat when it comes to urban and rural Ingress players, and I'll dive into that and explain what I mean. Some people are going to say you're crazy. Rural players in all games have disadvantages. I think it's even, and I'll tell you why. But that's all I have for the pros. I agree with your pros.
Cool. Cons. This is going to make it easier for people to bot their way into Wayfarer. And it gives cheaters more access to multiple accounts.
It does.
And we have trouble. With that already, right? So that's kind of my cons.
I know
you have thoughts, so I'm going to let you go first.
All right. I put in the group chat last night, a whole bunch of baby accounts are now graduated to Wayfarer. I think because, I mean, we all know these guys and gals. I'd just say guys in the colloquial meaning. We know guys in Pogo who started an account for their kids or their wife, and they didn't play. They've kept it up. And, you know, it was level 37 for the longest time. And then level 37 got access. And all of a sudden they have now 4 Wayfarer accounts. And there's people that said, you know what, I'm going to try Ingress, but I don't want to get these badges. And they've got these baby level 8 accounts that they use for backpacks. And so now they have access. So, you know, the problem we have with alt accounts is people take a lot more chances with alt accounts than they do with their main account, because people won't spoof on their main account, but they'll spoof on their alt, because if their alt gets busted, then their alt gets busted and it gets taken away. But, you know, it's going to, and this is what we saw on the forum last night, Chris, was people were saying that, you know, the level and quality of Wayfarer is going to go down because these people now have access. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I mean, I see their point that if you were just now coming into Wayfarer from a level 8 Ingress account and you've never done anything else before, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I would rather have a level 8 Ingress person with no knowledge of Wayfarer than a level 37 Pogo player with no level of Wayfarer. Because if you got to level 8 in Ingress, and I'm going to talk about this here in a second, you've got knowledge of intel.ingress.com, and you've seen the map, and you've seen the portal network. So you know how they're laid out, and you know that they can't be too close to each other, and you know that they need to be further away from each other because that's how you make your triangles. So I don't have a lot of fear for those Ingress people because I think they're going to be a little bit more well qualified than the Pokemon Go player. So, Chris, here's my thought with this, and this is why I don't think that an Ingress player has a huge disadvantage when it comes to this, because Ingress is not a game that you can play from your couch. Pokemon, if you work on 4 or 5 gyms and 4 or 5 stops at your office, have a blast. Knock yourself out. People can sit down in one spot and play Pokemon Go all day. If they've got spins and gyms, they can have a blast. But Ingress, the whole precipice and the whole purpose of Ingress is to draw these triangles, right? And the bigger triangle you draw, the more points you're going to get. So how do you draw these triangles? You have to go travel to these portals and get the portal key, right? Everybody always says, Jamal, why do you only nominate from Ingress? Don't you want your name on the Pokestop? No, I want the dang portal key. Because if I get a portal key 30 kilometers away, I can throw a link to it without having to go there. Because what you don't know about Ingress if you don't play, if I see, let's say I came to Oshawa and I hacked a bunch of portals and I had keys. If I had a clear lane from Charlotte to Oshawa, I could throw a link and link my portal to your portal, but I have to have that key. So the only way that people do these baths and they do these things all across the world is they have keys from these other locations. So if you're an Ingress agent, you have to get up and move or trade, but mostly move. You've got to get up and move and go to these portals that are far away from you so you can come back to your home anchor and throw the link there and then make it a triangle. You've got to throw links to 2 others when you have a corresponding link on the other one or have somebody else throw that link. So a rural Ingress agent, in my estimation, has their playing field leveled with a urban Ingress agent because the rural agent is going to be able to throw from farther and get more AP, and they're going to be able to get more points on their fields because they're throwing from a further direction. If you're in a city and you're making these little triangles, hey, that's cool that you're not really doing anything. I want these big triangles, and I've got to get out. That's why I've burned more tanks of gas playing Ingress than I have playing Pogo, for sure. Pogo, I can walk around my park. Ingress, I'm driving around the whole dang city. I'm going as far out as I can, and I'm getting the keys to them, and then I'm coming back and I'm throwing my links out there. So I think the level drop is a good thing. I think it's going to get more people to play Ingress because people are going to say, hey, I can get to level 8 easier than I can get to level 37. And you can get to 37 pretty easy with friendships. It's neither one of them is super hard. Level 10 was challenging. So I'm going to take a wait and see approach to see, my worst fear with my wait and see approach is that people are going to say, hey, I've now got 3 extra Wayfarer accounts from these baby accounts and these alts that I have. So I'm going to nominate things that are a little more risque. And if it gets banned, it gets banned, but it's not my main account. That's my biggest con is that. Cheaters are going to cheat. We know about people that are cheating. I don't think this is going to affect the cheaters because the cheaters could spin up a level 10 account just as easy. They could spin up a level 8 account. It might take them 1 day less to get a level 8 account than it took them to bot to get to a level 10 account. I don't think that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing, Chris, is that people are going to have access to an extra account that they might take a few more chances with.
That's fair. That is fair. The 9 and 10 badges aren't overly difficult. If you play Ingress in any sort of deliberate fashion, you could probably get your badges to where they need to be by the time you get the AP. Honestly, it took me a little bit longer because I played Ingress super passively and didn't pay attention to any of the badges until my game was like, hey, you need these badges. And I was like, what are you even talking about? So then I had to go. I had the AP for level 10 before I had the badges for level 9. So that just shows you how passively I play Ingress. I question whether or not there are a number of Ingress players who are currently level 8 who want to participate in Wayfarer who don't have a level 37 Pogo account.
Right.
Like, is that number large enough to make this worth it? Or are they just doing it for the sake of doing it because they need more numbers? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, we know that those guys are smart over there. We know they've run numbers. You know, they've run the numbers. They know what they're doing. I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, if I'm going to be consistent to the way I've always been, I'm going to say I want to be more inclusive than less inclusive. So I can't argue against this and say, no, don't do it. Because I think a bigger tent with more people in it is always going to have more and better ideas. So I got to be consistent to my previous saying. So I don't know. I think if you police it correctly, everything will work out.
I agree with you there. I trust the Wayfarer team's monitoring and ability to deal with the people who are going to try and be nefarious about this. I think you're right. I don't think that the number of people who will abuse this outnumbers the number of people who will benefit from this, right? Correct. And I think the biggest benefit to this is people who are out there making nominations, using all of their 40 nominations in Pogo almost consistently, right? Waiting on their refresh every day. Some of them are probably going to go, okay, I can get to level 8 in Ingress fairly quickly. Don't got to do badges. I can just kind of mindlessly do this. And honestly, like, it used to be that you needed other people in Ingress playing the game in your area. You don't now.
You don't.
Like, if you're actually better off if nobody else in your area plays. If
with Machina out there, you can rack up the AP quickly. If you open your Ingress game and it's full of red, that's good for you because you can just go mindlessly blow things up and deploy your resonators and have a day, man. You can have a day. I love it when I say I'm gonna go play Ingress and I open the map and it's full of red. I'm like, that's better than it being blank.
Yeah. Like I think there's one, maybe two Ingress players in my area, and every time they go down to the park, they just play Pogo and they ignore the map. So I just go down there and blow up a bunch of Machina and let it regenerate for a couple of days and then go back down there again.
Right.
When I play, like if I don't play for a month, then whatever. But
and so for Pogo players, it's like when you leave your Pokemon in a gym, that's kind of like what you do for Ingress. But the thing in Ingress that makes the game super interesting is the decay. So it decays. So if you leave, I'm on the green team. I put 8 resonators on a portal, and unless I recharge it, it'll decay and disappear. So think about if you put your Pokemon in a gym and it only stayed there for 4 days, and after 4 days, it came back home automatically. That's essentially what happens in Ingress. So the map is always regenerating all the time. It never stays stale. And if you want your stuff to stay, you have to recharge it, aka feed your Pokemon. So you'd have to feed them every day. So that's the difference in the games.
There are Pogo only players right now who are screaming at their radios or their computers or their phones going, please do this, Pogo. Let me have my Pokemon back.
Right, exactly.
But so you can get to level 8 pretty quick. And now you've got 40 extra nominations. And speaking as someone who lived a year with just my own Pogo and then getting that extra 40, it's huge.
Made a big difference for you.
Damn, that one weekend. And
yeah, I remember that.
right, it's 78. I think I did in 2 days. But
Yeah.
it's nice to be able. It's nice to have that available to you if you need it, right? And I think this is a good thing. The Wayfarer community as a whole sometimes can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Pessimistic.
Fatalistic.
Yeah.
They tend to take the worst case scenario and everything.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a second here, and I'm gonna plug my laptop in because apparently it's dying.
Okay.
Yep, my camera just flunked out because my laptop is dying. So 1 second. Probably should have done this before we started recording, but hey, here we are.
No, you're good. You're good. I think the thing to remember is the worst case scenario sometimes is not the worst thing to happen. And I know that there's got to be at least 1 or 2 Six Sigma people at Niantic that have kind of done that analysis and said, what is the absolute worst that could happen? Because they're a $1 billion company. I'm quoting somebody here, a little inside joke for Ken, billion with a B. But I'm sure I know for a fact. I'm not even going to say I'm sure. I'm just going to go and say I know. Someone over there has run the analysis to say what's the worst that can happen if we do this. And they looked at it and go, if that's the worst, go ahead and do it. It's not that bad.
Yep. No, 100%.
Very confident that analysis has taken place. Very confident.
The forum. I trust, like you said, I trust that the Niantic team is doing this for a reason, and they're not just going, we need more people, get more people, right?
Right.
I trust that there's some analysis on this. The Agent X made a funny comment, and I want to read it. He goes, since I've hit level 16 twice, can my votes count 4 times as much? And I'm level 50 in Pogo, so 5 times?
I saw that. That was good.
I laughed.
Niantic Aaron's reply to that was good too.
Yeah, like a picture of someone doing this. So good. Aaron is so funny. Some of the things he replies to on the forum are hilarious.
I love it. I love Aaron.
The general consensus on the forum was cheating jokes, and we need the test back. Were kind of the 2 main things that were coming out of this thread. And a couple people going, but I'm level 10 in Ingress, and it was a lot of work, and I did it. And
yeah,
which is kind of how I felt, right? Why couldn't you do this like 2 years ago? And I was struggling.
I remember those days when you were going from 8 to 10, and you were just like, man, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I'm like, dude, you got it, man. Think about those extra 40 nominations. You got it. Now, as you guys heard in the open that we did last week in our little airplane open, and people seem to like that, Chris, so we'll do that again next year. But Little Pound Cake was like a big advocate for the test coming back. And she's like, I'll even write it.
Yep.
Niantic wants to be inclusive, and they don't want to test. So I say we meet them halfway, not a test, but what about a human has to click a button that says, this is preferred, this is not preferred. So it's not like you're going to give somebody anxiety that they have to pass a test, but they've got to sit there for 10 minutes and they've got to read what we want and what we don't want. And they've got to click that I acknowledge that I read this. So when someone comes to the forum, you and I and everybody else can say, I know that so-and-so has at least acknowledged that they saw this was a thing. You know what I mean? So it's not a test, but it's an acknowledgement of you have physically gone through our criteria. And even if it's just a thing that Tintino and team put together with all the criteria, you've got to read it all and click, I read this, and read it all and click, I read this. Like in the States, every October is compliance month. And all month we've got to do all these compliance things. I don't know if it's the same in Canada. And nobody reads all of those, but you've got to scroll down to the bottom of the page and click that. I know I read what sexual harassment is. I read that I know what this is. So something along those lines. So if someone has a question on the forum, we can say, refer back to the information on your onboarding or something like that. I would be in favor of that versus a test when they start dropping levels, because think about this, Chris, the mild outrage we're experiencing now. Think about if Pogo goes from level 37 to level 32. Think about what people are going to say. It's going to be, what about the children? It's going to be a whole thing.
My prediction is they're going to drop it to 30.
30.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
I
a
think they're
nice
dropping it
round
all the way down
number.
to 30 because 30 is the level where the Pokemon that you see are always the same. For anybody above level 30, you know what I mean? The spawns are always the same. So I think that's kind of, they've already set that as a limit for that. So I think that's where they're going to drop it to.
No, that makes really good sense. Level 30. That's that. Yep. I think you nailed it. I think your prognostication skills are on point once again. That makes perfect sense.
Back to your point about the test. I think so. The way that my company does it, because I'm a government organization and we deal with kind of regulations, they frame all of our training like it's a test. So they do, here's a little bit of learning, like you watch the video, you read the thing, and then it's like, here's a question about what you just read, and then you answer it, and it goes, you got it wrong. Here's the correct answer. Here's why it's the correct answer. Or congratulations, you got it right, and you move on. But either way, it doesn't fail you, right?
Right.
It just corrects you. So what if they did, like, here's all your learning, and now we're going to give you 10 reviews, and then you review one of them. Just they have honeypots, right? Stuff that they know that they've done. You go and review it, and then you hit submit, and it goes, congratulations, you nailed it. Or you picked thumbs down for this. It should have been thumbs up for this. Here's why. Or you picked not a good place to explore, but it actually is a good place to explore. Here's why. And then you move on to the next one. So by the time you've done 10, you've either nailed it or you didn't nail it, but they've given you direction on what you didn't get, right? So and I think
love that
will
idea.
Help people, because a lot of people learn better by doing.
Yes.
And I'm the same way. Like, you could hand me a stack of SOPs and I could read them all and be like, cool, I understand it. But unless you hand me the laptop and make me do it, I'm not going to remember. Right?
It's just a random SOP on a piece of paper.
Right. But like the third time I've done it, I'm looking at the SOP going, I'm going to rewrite this because this is terrible.
Right.
Right? Because that's my jam is SOPs and stuff like that. But a lot of people learn by doing. And the people who don't learn by doing will learn because they read it. And then when they read it, they'll nail the test just because they read it and learned it. So I think
I love that idea. I love that idea. Don't fail somebody, but make sure they understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
That makes too much sense.
So that makes not what we say at work. That makes sense. They're not going to do it. But I trust the Niantic team to do the things that make sense.
I do as well.
So yeah, I think overall, kind of putting a bow on this one, I think this is a good thing. I think this is going to be inclusive. It's going to allow people who didn't play Ingress before to start playing Ingress and maybe kind of pump some more people into Ingress and revive some of the Ingress communities that are kind of dead now. I don't know how popular Ingress is. There are probably people yelling at me telling me that Ingress is thriving, and it could be. Like, I'm just going by what I see in my area, right? So, and
Pokemon trainer Jay is driving on our side of the road now after he heard you say that.
Speaking of Ingress, if you are interested in Ingress and learning all about Ingress, Ingress Insights, fantastic podcast. Definitely check him out.
Yep,
and
for sure.
He will help you along your Ingress journey to level 8 and more wayfaring. 40 extra nominations, people. Go do it.
40.
Let's jump into topic number 2 real quick.
Sarah Amanda, don't forget about topic number 2.
These new intros are my favorite part of season 4 so far. It's fantastic.
I know, right?
Speaking of the forum, and we're going to go real quick through this because it's already been 40 minutes.
Topic number 1 was supposed to be the short one.
Was supposed to be the short one. So we're going to blow through this real quick. Speaking of Pokemon Trainer Jay, made a post in the forum saying, hey, what do you want at a Wayfarer in 2025? And we kind of did our take on this at the beginning of the year. But I wanted to real quick run through some of the things that the community wants, because some of them were not aligned with what we wanted. And some of them were interesting. Number 1, a few people said that they want clarification on neighborhood signs. And I know that's probably a big one for you.
I want it to be left alone. I wanted to just leave that one alone. Just leave it alone.
You
Leave it
like where
alone.
they're at right now, yeah.
I like where it's at right now. And I messaged Cindy Poo on the side and I told her that, and she didn't appreciate it. Well, I wasn't being snarky, but she
Right.
wants to know black and white. And I'm like,
Yep.
leave it. Just leave it alone.
Yes, because you're afraid that they're not going to say what you want them to say.
Exactly. And right now there's enough gray area that I'm sailing. Charlotte, just about every neighborhood sign in the city of Charlotte and surrounding areas is almost in. So just keep dragging your feet, Niantic. Let me get a few more in, and you can do what you want.
But that's funny because not a single one of them has made it up here. And I've seen a ton of them, and I keep following up. Speaking of which, I'm going to jump ahead, and I'm going to kind of jump out of order here. A lot of people, and this was a really good idea, wanted a way to see what happened to the things that we reviewed.
Ooh, okay.
So I think this would be a good learning opportunity for some people. And if they could say, I want to go back and look at all the things that I reviewed on Tuesday, and have they reached a resolution yet? Right? Like there's a Wayfarer tools add-on that will show you your review history, but there's no, like, it doesn't say, hey, it's approved, denied, rejected, because they don't have access to the back end to update that.
You have to do a whole lot of work and get the coordinates and go plug it into the map and look and see if it's there. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So I think it would be really cool. And I thought this is a fantastic idea. And it's in my little notebook to talk to the Wayfarer team when we see them in New Jersey. I almost said New York. When we see them in New Jersey this year at GoFest. A lot of people wanted more nominations, which fair.
They're giving it to you now. Go get level 8. You get 40 more.
Go get level 8 in Ingress. A few people mentioned Peridot and Monster Hunter Now and Pikmin Bloom, saying, hey, when are we getting nominations in those games? A couple people were like, whoa, Peridot, I don't want to play that. That's very pay to win. But apparently, so I deleted it because it was very pay to win. But apparently they've changed it and it's really not now. So maybe I'll download it again. Trollfarer was like, I don't think I'll ever play that game again unless you can nominate in it, in which case I will grind the hell out of it. So, message to the Niantic team: if you want people to play your games, allow them to nominate Wayspots in the games. You'll get a bunch of people who will grind to that level.
For sure.
Some people wanted another AMA. We've talked about that before. I don't think they'll do another one. The forum kind of plays that role. People have questions that get answered in real time, so I don't know if anybody's really out there hoarding a bunch of list of questions that they want to ask the Niantic team, because you could just make a post on the forum and they'll probably answer you, right? So,
and people are not bashful about making posts.
Yeah, exactly.
People are not bashful.
Somebody suggested a year-long challenge with a top 500 board. I thought that would be interesting.
See, you would. That's talking to my soul. Like, I'm a sucker for a leaderboard. Like, I'm on this challenge to do 15,000 this year, and I've made my own leaderboard like a year long. Oh, yeah. I'd devote hours at the end of each night to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I'm just saying.
So some people, I think it was Sarah Amanda, was like, why can't I have 2 nominations back every single day? Fair question, right? That would be nice to get 2 back a day instead of your 1. A lot of people want Wayfarer merch.
Yeah.
You can get like a coffee mug. I would love a coffee mug or like a tumbler.
Yeah.
I got my Tim Hortons Canada one that has probably been on every single episode that we've ever recorded. I would love a Wayfarer one, like a regular coffee mug too. Yeah, so there you go, Carolina Panthers one. I think people would love that. I don't know if there's enough interest for them to like make a store, but I would definitely purchase some stuff.
I would too.
If Niantic, if you're trying to think of merch for this year's GoFest that you want to give out to people, coffee mugs.
Or even make them for sale for a reasonable price. I'd buy it for a reasonable price.
Yeah, launch a merch store, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that you could sell Ingress shirts, Pogo shirts, Monster Hunter Now shirts, Wayfarer shirts, mugs, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
We'll workshop it. Niantic, reach out. We got ideas.
That's right. We have ideas.
More in-game Wayfarer badges and kind of Wayfarer in-game swag. I would rock a Wayfarer sweater in Pogo.
Yes. Oh,
or a
for
t-shirt,
sure.
Right. You posted that you wanted an official Wayfarer meetup. Another idea for this year's Go Fest.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening, Niantic, I feel like we should have labeled this topic Niantic. Are you out there?
Ooh, I can see a good thumbnail with that too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Sea Princess posted that they wanted a way to reach out to people who are nominating stuff, and I think that's a great idea. If you limited it to like Wayfarer ambassadors, former Wayfarer ambassadors, and certain unnamed Wayfarer participants who shall remain nameless, but their names rhyme with Mamal and Schmrith.
Yes.
You would have to.
Yes.
It's a fantastic idea, right? Because I don't know how many times I've seen nominations in my reviews and be like, "Oh man, this is so close. This is so close. I can't approve it, but if just was tweaked just like this, and the supporting information was better, and the supporting picture actually showed me that it's there, or like it's just so cool. I want to reach out and be like, this is what you need to fix. Try again, please. I will help you." But like, you know that this would be toxic AF.
Oh my goodness,
if it was
would be
opened.
Yeah, because that would be unmoderated. Yeah, that would get ugly.
It would get unhinged.
There was so I think it was Cindy Poo tagged me in a post on the forum about a week ago. Someone in Charlotte, actually just outside of Charlotte in Matthews, was having some trouble with some nominations, and she was like, "Oh, you're in Blame Jamal's area." So we were kind of talking on the post, but I didn't want to be the guy that would be like, "Hey, reach out to me, Wayspotters at PokemonProfessor.com." Although I just did it now, but or put out my email out there. So, I've got an email that I'll give to anybody. You know what I mean? It's not like my personal email. It's like my spam email that I don't mind throwing that out there on the air or whatever, but Wayspotters at PokemonProfessorNetwork.com. So I thought about saying, "Hey, hit me up," and just putting that in there, but then I thought someone's going to flag it and I don't want to get on some watch list. So maybe if someone tags me again, I'll just, put it out there. Hopefully they'll see it before it gets taken down and they'll reach out to me, but I don't know of another way to do that. Yeah,
it's difficult. Maybe try and see if they have a campfire and you can DM them through campfire.
You know what? That's a great idea. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to look for them also in the local Charlotte Discord and see if they're there.
Yes.
So,
yeah. There you go. Perfect.
So I can find them. So I'm gonna help that person.
I think that was the last thing that I saw, and I think this is a fantastic idea, is a general public access map of the geospatial database, formerly known as the Lightship map.
Right.
There's one available to developers. There is not one available to the general public.
There is not.
And I think that would go a long way to helping people do a lot of planning and stuff, because you see duplicates, right? And a lot of times it can be prevented. Sometimes you can't. Like I've had stuff marked as duplicate before because somebody snaked me, but it is what it is, right? So honorable mention, people wanted regular map syncs for all the Niantic games. That's not really a Wayfarer thing. That's kind of a game team thing. # justice for Pikmin Bloom.
That's right. Oh man.
So as much as you can berate the Wayfarer team, they really don't have control over it. They can kind of poke the Pikmin Bloom team as much as they want, but the Pikmin Bloom team don't want to do it. They ain't gonna do it, right?
They ain't gonna do it.
Aaron posted a few days after the post was created and said, "Thank you everyone for your suggestions. Keen eye on this thread. While I cannot promise you that all of your suggestions will be implemented, I assure you that they will definitely be brought up to the team for their consideration. So keep them coming. Happy exploring." And then Pokemon Trainer Jay replied with a quote, but he fixed it to say, I promise all your suggestions will be implemented." Aaron replied with like a laughing emoji. So
the thing that I love about this is Aaron and LC, and they've jumped in a couple times and made comments on it. So we know they're looking at it. So I love that.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Right. And that's the great thing about the forums is they might not answer everything, but they're definitely looking. And someone is definitely reading everything.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I appreciate it. And you think about the amount of free intel they're getting from just having the forum open. Like they're finding out what their users want almost in abundance and in too much abundance, where the Pokemon Go team primarily is finding out from Twitter, and you got to kind of go through all the trolls and the people who are, or thinking that they're comedians, but the people on the Wayfarer forums are generally serious about what they're asking for.
Yep. Absolutely they are. All right. I think that's good for that. I'm interested to see over the next few months what from that list gets implemented, what from that list they start talking about, that sort of thing, right? So it'll be interesting. Let's jump into Tales from Canada real quick because I got a good one this one.
All right, let's go to Tales from Canada.
Get ready to explore Canada's history through the diverse experiences and perspectives of the real people who lived them. Every other week, Chris will take you oot and a boot through a fun segment we call Tales from Canada. So grab your double-double, make sure you have all your loonies and toonies, and get ready to hang a Larry. It's time for Tales from Canada.
All right, this week we have a story called Beaver Herds Cattle. Saskatchewan ranchers stunned as beaver herds 150 cattle. And you might think to yourself, that's a weird title. It's exactly what you think it is. Saskatchewan rancher Adrian Ivy may have heard of a beaver, but until now had never seen a beaver herd cattle. On Friday, Ivy and her husband were surprised to see 150 of their heifers crowded together in one of their pastures. Curious about the strange behavior, they investigated further to find the herd of cattle following a beaver that had wandered along. I'm going to see if I can full screen this, and we're going to play this for our video listeners. And there's a beaver in the middle of the field and a whole bunch of cows just staring at it.
They are legit just waiting for him to give them their orders. They are. That's crazy. There he goes. And he's walking, and they're walking, and
Beaver walk,
man.
and cows follow him. And it's just one of the funniest things.
That is so good. There's some prairie dog somewhere going, hey, that's my job, buddy. What are you doing?
Yep, exactly. So funny. He was out and about, and I think looking for a new place to build a beaver lodge. And they were following him, Ivy said. There was about a 3-foot space around him. They didn't want to get closer than that. According to Ivy, heifers are more inquisitive than the average bovine, which may have led to them following the beaver. So I thought
that's great. I love that.
Very funny.
I love that. Saskatchewan is one of my favorite Canadian areas, provinces to say, cities to say. So I love that name. When I lived in Portland, we would play against the Saskatchewan team in junior hockey because Portland had a junior hockey team. So
nice.
Saskatchewan would come to town. So yeah. Right on.
Perfect. Beautiful. All right. We're going to play some dad jokes, take a break, and we'll be back on the other side.
You're joking. It's season 4. Enough already.
What's the best kind of music to listen to when you go fishing? Something catchy. What kind of shoes do frogs wear? Open-toed. Why did the coach put the frog in the outfield? Turns out he was really, really good at catching flies. I'm reading a horror story in Braille. Something bad is about to happen. I can just feel it. Why did the elephant quit his job? Because he was tired of working for peanuts. What would happen if you threw all of the books in the world into the ocean? It would cause a tidal wave. What did one candle say to the other? Do you want to go out tonight?
And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the dad jokes this week. We are going to jump into Wayspot of the Week.
This is Sarah Amanda, and here are some Wayspotters approved points of interest.
Wayspot of the Week number 1 comes to us from the Pokemon Professor Network, and it is, I believe this is somebody from your area who, if you say this username correctly, is probably not family friendly.
Yes.
CHTSHTGTBNGD9. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. And if you can figure it out, you're probably old enough to figure it out.
Yes.
This is something giant bull and sign. This is
You want to bring it up?
Oh yeah, sorry. Share this tab instead. There we go.
Yep.
This is a sculpture of a bull on top of a farm sign. So it's probably 10, 15 feet up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But the best part of this nomination, so it's like a sculpture of a bull. It's painted red and white. It's on top of a H&N farm sign. There's nothing really spectacular about the signs. The bull sculpture is shiny. It looks like a bull sculpture, like kind of one of them, fairly generic. But the description
The
on this
description is fantastic.
What makes this a true Wilkes County landmark, once stolen by a group of high schoolers and put on the football field of their opponents before the Friday night game. Now,
And if you've ever been to Wilkes County, you know that is like 99% likely to be true.
absolutely. And I don't know if a lot of our listeners who aren't American know. Actually, you know what? Here, I was sharing the wrong tab. Football in the US sometimes can devolve into mascot stealing.
Oh, for sure.
And
Yes.
high school
Especially in the
rivals
South.
before rival games have hazings, and they'll go and steal mascots from the other team and or plant their mascot in the middle of the field if they're on the road, and kind of trying to get into the heads of the other teams before their rival games on Friday nights. So I can just picture a bunch of high schoolers running around with a giant bull sculpture, put it in the middle of a football field, and just having the time of their lives.
Oh man,
and
that's great.
Probably
that
receiving no repercussions at all because they live in the South and they're football players.
Absolutely not. They're not receiving any. No. And to this specific nominator, they are local to my area. Sent me a very nice message on Wednesday because I missed raid hour because I was at Girl Scouts. Like, oh, I missed you. This person is currently nominating in a part of Charlotte that I just haven't nominated. And I see the reviews and I look at the address and I'm like, oh, I know who this is. They're doing Arceus's work over in Charlotte in parts that I haven't been, and I love it. And they joined our Patreon, so welcome to the Patreon. And they joined the WDD, and they joined the forums, and they're super active, and it's just amazing. And it's like great what happens when someone gets exposed to Wayfarer and they take it and they run with it. So I love it. So welcome and thank you.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump into Wayspot of the Week number 2.
Here is a beautiful example of a Wayspot of the Week, which may or may not be a 2-story mural.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to hear that all season and not chuckle. Nope. Especially when it's going to be a 2-story mural.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So why don't you take this one?
All right, so Wayspot of the Week number 2. The description of this one is reincarnation. So it's spelled R-E space I-N space C-A-R space N-A-T-I-O-N. So reincarnation. local art installation. So what you're looking at here is, God, this is great. I love this. So it's a, God, let me search. Okay. It's in California. It's in Niland, California, and it's a blue background, and it's a pile of rocks. It looks like it might be on a hill or like on a cliff or something. And what you're looking at is, it looks like, would you see that it's kind of like a drone that's made out of old car parts, and it's got a wing on it, and then kind of a tail like an airplane, and it's sitting there. And if you zoom in down by the big rock and the red part, there's like legs that shows that it's sitting like permanently in this installation. But it's cool. It's something that you don't see. It's like, it looks like they made a plane out of car parts, and it's sitting here on this pile of rocks. So I saw that, and I was like, I had to look at it a couple times. I'm like, I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. But when I zoomed in, I saw that is actually really a cool nomination. So, and it looks permanent enough for me that I would pass it.
Yep. 100%. Absolutely. And I just love that, like, they've taken the doors and put them sideways, and that's kind of what it's sitting on, right? So I think it's fantastic.
Yes. The doors are facing up. So it would be really cool if the supporting photo was taken from inside of it and like shoot, like, anyways, never mind. Not that far, get out of your car. But yes, no, I love it. I love that. And it's the only issue that I thought with that was, is that permanent? But then when I looked at the doors, I'm like, yep, that's permanent. There's legs coming out of it. So it's good to go.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. All right, let's move on to Cold of the Week.
I've been working on the Wayfarer all the live long day. I've been working on the Wayfarer just to pass the... Oh no. Hey, Jamal, I found some coal.
This comes to us via our executive producer, KatettheKonz. This is a church, so it's Lakeview Church FMC, and like the picture is, it looks like a picture of the door, so you can kind of see the Lakeview Church logo on there, and there's like the logo is like a couple of wavy lines and a cross on the top of it, and you can see some trees and stuff in the background reflecting off of the door. The description is, church is over 100 years old, but we had to start over last year. We are a growing church and have many Pokemon Go fans in the church.
Ooh.
We would love if you would choose us. So close.
Oh, so close.
So close.
This is one of those you want to reach out to them and go, hey.
Yes. Yeah. This is one of those ones that you want to be able to type in that little box that says, hey, remove the Pokemon Go reference and try again. So...
Also, maybe not put the whole title in caps, but I'm just being picky there.
Yeah. That's something that I get annoyed by, but I don't necessarily reject on its own.
If it really bothers me, I can go edit it later.
Exactly. Right. And if that was the only thing, then sure. But if that coupled with like the picture's not great and they reference Pogo, but the Pogo thing is a deal breaker.
That's
right?
a non-negotiable. But
if you had a couple other things in here that weren't fantastic, maybe kind of as a whole, you take all three of them and you reject it. But the Pogo reference was
takes it out.
Failure. So, all right, you got anything else?
I've got nothing else.
Perfect. I will go ahead and sign us off and get everybody.
Oh wait, I do have one other thing. So take a look at this. Look at the bottom of your screen, Chris.
Oh, look at that. That's fun.
Look at that. So while you're signing us off, I will let that play because instead of putting the logos up, we're just going to let that run. So that's new. That's awesome. So if you want to know what we're talking about, you're going to have to go and watch the YouTube version. We've got a crawler. So think like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News with the crawler going across the bottom of the screen. We spent the big bucks and we've got a crawler now that's going to go across the bottom of the screen when we're closing out the show.
Yep. That's awesome. All right. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Wayspotters. We really appreciate it. A big thank you to our executive producer, KatettheKonz, our show historian, Maddie G, and to all of our Patreons. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. Now, if you enjoyed this episode of Wayspotters, there are a few ways that you can show us. You can follow us on all of our socials. We are on X at Wayspotters, and on Instagram at Wayspotters Podcast, and on TikTok for now at I Make Wayspots. We're on Blue Sky and a couple other things, but I don't have the things right here. So just Google Wayspotters Podcast. You'll find all of our socials. We are incredibly responsive and love interacting with our followers. Let us know what you thought about today's episode. You can also visit our website, www.wayspotters.com. From there, you can get links to everywhere you can download the show. You can also send us a message directly from the website. Or you can email us at wayspotters at pokemonprofessor.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. For those of you who still need to be sure to check us out. We are at youtube.com/@wayspotters-podcast. Leave us a voicemail on our hotline, 704-426-3710, or tweet us a voice message. You never know, your voicemail may appear on an upcoming episode of the show. Finally, if you are not a member of the Pokemon Professor Network Patreon, you can join for as little as $1 US a month. All you need to do is go to patreon.com/PokemonProfessor. You will have access to the Discord for the entire family of shows across the Pokemon Professor Network, including Wayspotters, Special Conditions, Gotta Watch 'Em All, Purified Podcast, Good Morning Johto, Sleep It Off, After Darkrai, and Lured Up. It is a fantastic place filled with fantastic people. Jamal and I are active in the Discord quite a bit, so come and hang out. We would love to have you. And with that, we look forward to you joining us again next week here on Wayspotters. We appreciate all of the support we get each week, and we could not do this without all of you. And remember, it's not that far. Get out of your car.